Like clockwork, we knew that Brandon Aiyuk unfollowing the San Francisco 49ers was probably going to be one of the leading stories in the NFL on Monday because that happened on Friday. Get through the weekend. And so, what does that mean? It means we have guys like Adam Schefter giving his opinions on it. And I like to hear what Adam has to say because obviously, whether you like him or not, he is plugged in. He has sources per Adam Schefter. I mean, come on. And so I'm always curious, even if I don't agree with what he has to say, I'm curious to hear what Shefty is talking about because he does provide nuggets and he does let us know what he's hearing. And that's exactly what he does right here. Adam Schefter lets us know what he is hearing in regards to a potential trade with Brandon Aiyuk. And you also get some additional insight into the situation. Take a listen right here, and then we'll react to it on the other side.
We finish in San Francisco, where Brandon Aiyuk unfollowed the 49ers on social media. Let's start with Adam Schefter. What do we know about Aiyuk's desire to stay in San Fran?
Well, I think his desire to get paid is greater than his desire to stay in San Francisco, wherever that is. If the 49ers want to pay him, I'm sure he'd love to stay in San Francisco. If another team would like to pay him, I'm sure he'd like to go there. And so this is a situation, I think, that's still sorting itself out. There's been contract discussions between the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk. They continue to go on. We'll see if they hit any snags. If they continue to go well, then of course they could work out a deal. If not, at some point in time, there reaches a cutoff like the NFL draft, where if you can't get a deal done, perhaps you entertain the idea at that point in time, if you're the 49ers, of moving on from him and trading him if you can't get a deal done. And so I think ultimately Brandon Aiyuk wants to get paid. He'd like it to be in San Francisco, but if not, whoever wants to pay him.
Yeah, I don't think there's a world where Brandon Aiyuk isn't going to be a 49er. And that's probably me speaking from the 49ers perspective because he's way too important to this team, to this offense, and to Brock Purdy's development. If you look at the rapport and the chemistry that he has with Brock Purdy, I mean, it is very special. And very soon, you're going to have to invest in a Brock Purdy contract, and you're going to want to make sure his number one target is out there. I think the conversation is actually going to shift. So what do they do with Deebo Samuel maybe after this season? Because if Brandon Aiyuk is continuing to be Brandon Aiyuk and be available, he is the number one receiver in San Francisco, and they'll have to figure out this contract to make sure that's the case. He's gotten better every single season that he's been in San Fran.
I think Adam has simplified it in a way that has been the best I probably have heard this whole offseason. It's very simple. Brandon Aiyuk would love to stay with the San Francisco 49ers, but he'd love to get paid. And if the 49ers aren't going to pay him, he would love to play for a team who would pay him. This is business time. We've talked about this ad nauseum at this point because that's what it is. These players are looking to maximize their value as they should. This is a business. It's a business for the team side. It's a business for the player side. That's why these contract negotiations exist in the first place. So I thought that was a very simplified way of kind of talking about the situation. I do think BA would like to be here and would like to remain with the San Francisco 49ers as long as his value is met. That's exactly what he said on Nightcat with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco. And he also said, but if it's not, then I'm walking. It's really that simple. And so I think all things can be true. I think the other comment that was made was about, the 49ers don't want to move off of Brandon Aiyuk. Like it's not like the 49ers look at Brandon Aiyuk and like, oh, we need to move on from this guy. We need a new wide receiver. He doesn't fit what we do. It's none of that. It's just about value. This is a value conversation. That's my interpretation and has been my interpretation of this for the entirety. And again, you are looking at a guy in Brandon Aiyuk who has maximized his value. You're talking about a guy who's taken the 31st most receptions in the league and turned it into the 7th most net yards in the league. That is value. That is efficiency. That is doing more with less. That deserves to be compensated. So to me, that is just where this is at. And I know it's going to be one of those situations where people are going to be tired of hearing about it. I'm going to see the comments below say, wake me up when he signs, all those different types of things, of course. And I understand and I get you. I get you. I'm like that too. Wake me up when he signs. But in the meantime, we have to kind of monitor these small minor steps along the way to try to help paint the picture as finely as we can. So as it currently stands right now, at least what Adam Schefter is saying is, not really hearing anything in regards to potential moves or what have you. And it just boils down to getting BA's worth. We know the 49ers are much better with Brandon Aiyuk than they are without. And I would imagine BA wouldn't mind staying with Brock Purdy and with this group. And he's talked about it. He wants to win championships. And I guarantee this is one of the best spots in the league to win championships. But at the same time, he's got to be valued. And that's just simply where we're at. And I would imagine that any contracts that are being presented to BA at this time aren't going to be near what the contracts are going to be presented to him probably around training camp, like we all know. So it's just one of those situations, right? And I think a part of it too is kind of what was talked about when the initial Jaguars rumors came up. Remember that our friend over at that radio station talking about like his agency kind of pushing the envelope of like there might be trade, like we might be interested in being traded to you guys. Part of that was gauging value through other teams. What are other teams willing to pay for Brandon Aiyuk services? And that could also be a tool that him and his representation bring back to the 49ers and be like, look, this is where we think our value is. This is where other teams are saying they value us. Just meet us here. Just meet us where we're valued and where we perceive to be paid. And let's get this thing done with. Let's get this signed with. My feeling is BA would rather this be over with, like signed, taken care of, pushed behind him, and back to work. Like that's just my perception of BA is he wants to work. Like he's not trying to, he's getting this diva tag because of the social media stuff. And it's less about being a diva and more about just using the tools that he has to try to close that gap, most likely between his representation and the 49ers to get this thing over the finish line. And so that's where I think we're at. Again, draft, we got to wait and see, get through the draft. I think we're good to go. But I do like to hear others' thoughts, like Adam Schefter, on this. I would like to hear your thoughts on this as well in the comments below. Let me know what you think is going to happen. Let me know how annoyed of this situation, all of it. I just throw it at me. Let's hear it. I get you. Just vent. Feel free to use the comment section below this video to vent all your frustrations. Even if you want to yell at me, go for it. I'm here for you. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.